All right, Mandy, I brought you some resources that I have found on the internet. Do you ever use, I think you've used that website. Have you seen this on there?
I have not.
Okay, well, this is just a identify your school triggers, that a thing that you would do with the student.
Okay.
So basically what you would use this for is when you're trying to do a functional analysis with the student. And I would use this probably for my older ones, for me, for elementary, but for you, it would work really well with middle or high school kids. But it's a way for them to be able to tell you how they're feeling during different situations, and it just and I really do like this. I use it a lot. So I'm going to give you a copy of it. And then what I really like about it is they get to say what their top fives are. What are their top five, their biggest triggers. And it helps, you know, they may not even know what their trigger
That's
is.
what I was going to say. It helps them to say, oh, this is what
Yeah, so I really, really like that. So that's one tool that you can use for your functional analysis. This is another assessment that I like to use. It's the FAST screening tool, and this is something that you would interview somebody on. This one is I would sit down and go through it with the student, but it's pretty much, you know, they can just sit down and do it on their own too.
Okay.
You don't have to read through it. This one is more of an interview portion. This one is another interview. These are just, and you could interview a teacher, their parent, if they're having, could be that their trigger's at home and they're bringing it to school. So these are all different interview forms, and then you can rate them.
So
and
the
to see,
questions.
yeah, it comes out, are they doing it to escape,
Okay.
to gain attention? Is it more of a sensory issue? And have you seen the motivation assessment scale?
Yes.
Okay, have you got any of these?
I don't think I have a copy of that.
Okay, well, I've got some of these. But anyways, this is another good one that you score and you can tell, is it to get something, is it to gain attention, to get out of something, or is it more of a sensory related thing? And this actually helps with OT too. So those are the different types of assessments that I brought for you. How are things going?
It's good. When we talk about these, I do have a question. When you have a student that is, say, sent out of class or is pulled because of a behavior issue, because I have a form, it's a SODA form.
Yeah.
Is that kind of like what you use?
I have used the SODA forms. I'm sure, there's two different levels of that. There's one with pictures that, I don't ever want to give them the SODA form when they first come into the room, because they're kind of calming down from what's going on, and sometimes they'll refuse, to do it. So, I wait a little bit, and if they don't want to do it, I may go over and sit down and kind of talk with them about the questions that are on the SODA form, and then if I want to keep a record of it, then I just I fill out the SODA form.
That's kind of what
Yeah, but I do like to have something. Yeah, I do like to have something like that to help. I do like to have something to help them with that.
Yes. And it's good because I kind of use those to go back and just myself kind of find that motivation if there's a correlation.
Absolutely.
So it would be nice to have this and not a moment of anger or when you're upset to kind of do it too.
Yeah.
So those are good.
And I don't know, I brought this for you. I don't know if you've seen it, but I use it quite frequently. I think I've told you about it before. Do you have one?
I don't have a copy of it.
Because we could, why don't you write that down and we could see if we can't get you a copy of this, because I do use it quite often. It also has a CD with it. It's the Tough Kid Toolbox, and it has mystery motivators.
Did you give me the CD?
I may have given you, okay, I bet it's this CD then.
Because these forms are very familiar.
Okay, all right, so, and anytime I have a kid that I think maybe the usual daily log isn't working for them, or I need something that's just a little different, I'll come to this and use it for a resource, and then this has all the directions, tells you how to use everything. And some of it is quite elementary, But I know the other day when you were in my room, you saw the reinforcement tower, and just giving them a visual is great. And I think for that student, being able to get his 2 stamps every day is, it's a very simple motivator, but it's working for him. So
we had homeroom at the end of the day, and I had all of my students at that time, and I was doing those charts, and they colored it in if their percentage for the day was a certain percent.
Yes, are those the graphing ones?
No, it looked just like that.
Okay.
It was like a thermometer.
Oh yes,
Is what I
okay.
used.
Okay.
And so it just, and so they really liked it, but now I don't have them at the end of the day. So I'm just having that conversation and trying to find that time to get that visual.
I have used before. It's a weekly plot, or no, it's a monthly. It's a monthly, and it has, it's got the 4 or 5 weeks on it. And at the end of the day, I would have the students fill it out, and they were graphing their own behavior. And their goal was to get the whole thing colored. And it was this great thing for them. It worked better for my older students. But when they could look at that and they could say, man, I had a really good month, I'll send that to you. I don't know if I've got that on email or not, but I'll scan it and get that to you. Okay? Because I really liked that. And that might be something that you could do running a day behind, just so they can graphic color it in, and it'll be familiar to them because some of them have, Because each year I try to do a little something different because it gets stale with them. So, but there's spinners in here. What I like in here too is the contracts, the different contracts for various things. And if you don't, it's very easy to take one of these and just make your own too, to make it fit you. And then I think you have this. I thought this would be a really good thing for you to look through too. Is it sensory or is it behavior? And this is something that we got through our autism cadre.
Okay.
And if you've got that kid that you just cannot figure out what the trigger is, look at their day. Just go back through that. And it's a pretty good book. We got this through the autism cadre, so this is in our loan library. We've got, if you, the next time you're in my room, if you look in that cabinet, all the resources that we have from the cadre are in there. And there's a lot of really good books in there. So, you want to look at your data logs?
Yeah, I was going to show you, I made some changes after Christmas. Before, and this, I won't go through them all, but just before, let me find one that I pulled. She didn't start till after Christmas.
So are the teachers filling these out for you?
The teachers are filling them out. And I have a section where, it's comments, and so they can, but what I found, because I had 4 general expectations that everybody had, and then I had their 2 or 3 individual goals.
Right.
And what I found, and I got feedback from teachers and from students, that sometimes they overlapped. So instead of getting 1 no for the day, they were getting 2 for the same kind of issue.
Okay.
So, and that was making them upset. It was doing more harm than good.
Right.
So I changed, and so I've just taken off the general expectations, and I'm focusing on, and these correlate to their IEPs, so the goals that we're working on, and then this is kind of, so it's just basically.
So then how do you do it at the end of the day? Do you do a percentage, or do you?
I do a percentage. So instead of having 7 or 6 like she did, now she only has 2. So it's harder to get a better percentage.
Right.
But
she's working on her specific goals.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. And I've gone back and forth on that with some of my students too. This looks a lot like what we call a grade card down there, which is part of. Oh, okay. Which is part of. Okay.
I just changed it.
I thought it looked familiar. Which goes along with the PBIS.
Okay.
So yeah, that's a lot like that.
I did add because we liked a lot of times they'll forget they have homework, and we have agenda books, but a lot of times
They won't use them.
And they already have this to keep up with. So I thought, let's just combine it.
Yeah.
So a copy of this goes home every day to their parents.
Are you
anyway.
getting them? You're getting them back, obviously.
Well, not so much.
Really?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So-
It's harder when they get in middle school.
And, you know, and I call parents, all of my parents know that they have them and they should expect them each day. I probably have 2 of my 9 students that are very consistent in bringing them back.
Do you have any, okay, what I did with one student, I wasn't getting anything back, but I wanted him to feel that he was responsible to someone to bring that back to me. So I hooked him up with an adult at school, and every afternoon he takes his paper and he has to go see that person, and that person has to sign his paper.
That's a very
So
good
he's
idea.
discussing his behavior with somebody,
Okay.
but it made him, before it was kind of like, oh, well, this is just another piece of paper and it doesn't matter because nobody's going to look at it. But this made him a little more responsible for his behavior when he had to go talk to Mr.
I do
Abel.
like
So,
that. Yeah, I was gonna say, I know Mr.
Yeah.
Howard would be willing to do that for some of my students, and I have some students that have really good connections with some of our teachers.
Mhm.
So having them go back and just say, you know,
Yeah.
look at my behavior, because they are, a lot of them are very proud, you know.
Oh,
I have
yeah.
one student that, I mean, he will kind of be like, "Why don't you?" You know, I don't even have to ask him, "Why don't you today?" I've been really good. So
it
and
means something to
It
him.
means something to them.
And that's what
Which is
what
good.
we want this to do. When we have them taking this from room to room with them, we want it to mean something. And that's what I always tell my students too, is that a lot of times, you know, they'll bring it back to me and the whole middle section will be blank, and I'll go, well, how did you do during this time? Well, I did good. But if you did good, don't you want to get those smiley faces, or don't you want to get those pluses? Because you earned them.
Exactly.
You know, it means something. And so then it's like, oh. And some
I
of
make my
them do,
kids go
some
back
of them
and get it
don't.
re-signed.
Mhm.
Because I'm like, you did this.
Yeah, and
You have
this
to go
gives them
back. Like, this one
responsibility
didn't get
too.
signed, even though it's signed to you.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
the teacher signed it. They just, oh, it is signed. It is signed.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm looking at, but I will have some.
Right.
You know, they didn't
Right.
love these two.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. So,
but the teachers are.
but it's
doing
good
really
that the
well with
teachers
this.
are doing this with you. That's good, because you got to build those relationships there with them, because they have to buy into this too. Because if it's not going to be beneficial to the class, then, you know, it's that one more thing
Mhm.
that we're asking them
Yeah.
to do. And so,
And like I said, they gave me feedback as far as changing that and making that change, because they were like, you know, if he's done this wrong, then that counts as the hat, and that's 2 no's for the day. When it's
Yeah.
just one thing, when, you know, and then it gets him upset.
yeah.
And so it was a good change. It was a good change.
So how do you have them carry these?
They have a folder, just like a regular folder.
So it's just a folder.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's very
That's-
discreet.
I went to the folders this year.
They can color on it. They can make it their own. Some kids will have other kids sign it. You know,
Yeah.
this and that was here.
Okay.
So they carry them in folders. I get the folders at the end of the day. We tally them. We talk about what happened, and then they get the copy to take home. Now, some of my 8th graders, they're too cool for the folder. So they carry it in their back pocket. So some of these are
Oh,
folded
that's
up.
okay.
But,
That's
and I told
okay.
them, you know, this is yours, and you're responsible
Right.
for it. If you can carry it for the whole day and get it signed all day, you don't have to carry the folder.
Right.
And they do. So
Well, that's good. See, we were using clipboards,
Mhm.
and then it got to where, you know, everybody picked up on, well, they're carrying a clipboard.
Mhm.
So I wanted to change it where it just, I want them to know that it's their business. It's not
Exactly.
everybody in the class's business. Because it got to the point where I would have students come up and say, so-and-so did really good today.
They were checking on for you.
But they, you know, they were proud, and they were their friend, and that was a good thing.
Mhm.
But I still wanted it to be more of a more personal to them kind of thing. So,
And they don't like to
So I
stand
went
out
to
in
the
any
folders.
way. And I think, yeah, the folders are a little more discreet.
But I was surprised because I went to the folders, and I actually had some teachers say, "Well, I like that clipboard."
Well, because they have to open the folder and pull it out, probably.
Well, because the kid was stuffing the folder in their desk, and the clipboard's harder to stuff in there, and I was like, so we talked about it, you know, back and forth. So I do have some that are still using the clipboard, because they're stuffers, but most of them use folder. So I found that to be better this year. So I like these.
Good.
And these are simple.
Now, how do you, I have just a spreadsheet that I go through and keep track of. But I feel like I have a lot of.
Well, I just use Excel when, you know, at the end of the year or a few times